My name is William and I want to tell you a story that changed my life forever. This is a story about how the pandemic didn't just stop the world, but revealed a truth I never wanted to know. March 2020. Who could have thought that my wife Chloe's routine business trip to Europe would turn into a catastrophe for our 12-year marriage? She worked as a manager at a large corporation and was supposed to fly to Germany with her colleague Jennifer for a week-long conference. I worked as a mechanic at a local auto repair shop then and didn't even suspect that this would be our last normal conversation before her departure. "I love you, Billy. See you in a week," Chloe said, kissing me goodbye at the door of our house in Austin, Texas. Then the world went crazy. Borders closed one by one, flights were canceled, and my wife got stuck in a hotel in Berlin with Jennifer. At first, we talked every day via video call. Chloe complained about boredom, about having to sit in her room, about the uncertainty of the situation. But what happened next I'll never forget. The first 2 weeks were tough for both of us. I worked as usual. The auto repair shop was considered an essential business, so we weren't closed. Chloe sat in the hotel waiting for flights to resume. We talked every day, sometimes several times. But somewhere around the third week, something changed. Our calls became shorter. Chloe said she was tired, that she had headaches from constantly being indoors. I understood. Who wouldn't get tired of such a situation? "Honey, what if this drags on for months?" she asked once. "Then we'll wait. We have savings, we'll manage," I replied, not suspecting that this question had a completely different subtext. The fourth week brought even more changes. Chloe started mentioning some David, the hotel manager who was helping them with accommodating American guests. "He's so caring," she said. "Every day he asks if everything's okay, if we need anything." I even mentally thanked this unknown man for taking care of my wife. How naive I was. By the end of the first month, our conversations had shortened to 1 call per day, usually in the evening my time. Chloe said she was trying to establish a daily routine, doing yoga, reading. Jennifer, according to her, spent most of her time in her room, working remotely. "What do you do during the days?" I asked. "Nothing special. Sometimes I go down to the lobby to change the scenery. There's a nice view of the city there." I didn't suspect anything bad. On the contrary, I was glad she was trying to stay strong. The second month began with a surprise. Chloe called me at 9 in the morning my time, unusually early for her. "Sorry for calling so early. I just can't sleep lately." Her voice sounded strange, as if she was excited or agitated about something. "Everything okay, my love? Maybe you should see a doctor at the hotel?" No, everything's fine. It's just a strange situation, right?" That "right" at the end of the sentence somehow alarmed me. Chloe never spoke like that. The next few days brought even more oddities. Chloe started telling me about city tours that the same David was organizing for stranded guests. Imagine, he showed us such wonderful places. Jennifer and I discovered the Real Berlin. But when I asked for details, Chloe gave vague answers. And then something happened that finally made me suspicious. One day she called me at midnight my time. That was 7:30 in the morning Berlin time. "Chloe, why aren't you sleeping so late?" "What? Oh yes. I had a nightmare. Couldn't fall asleep after that." But there wasn't a trace of sleepiness in her voice. On the contrary, she sounded alert, as if she had just woken up after a long sleep. And then I heard what changed everything. There was some noise in the background on the phone. Like someone was moving around the room. "Chloe, who's there with you?" "What? Nobody. It's the TV." But the sound wasn't like a TV. It sounded like footsteps, like the rustle of clothes. "Is Jennifer in your room?" "No, she's in her room." "Listen, I'm tired, let's talk tomorrow." She hung up so quickly that I didn't even get to say good night. All night I couldn't sleep, replaying this conversation in my head. Something was wrong. Very wrong. The next day I decided to call earlier than usual. At 9 in the morning her time. She didn't answer the phone for a long time, and when she finally picked up, her voice was hoarse and sleepy. "Sorry, honey, I was still sleeping." At 9 in the morning? I went to bed late. Was watching a movie. But yesterday she said she was tired and would go to bed early. From that moment, I started noticing more inconsistencies. Chloe got confused about the timing of our conversations, forgot what she had told me yesterday versus the day before. Sometimes she mentioned events that hadn't been in her previous stories. And the worst thing was that something new appeared in her voice. Some kind of liveliness. As if something had inspired her amid all this quarantine situation. By the end of the second month, I did something I had never done before. I checked our joint bank account. And then my suspicion turned into horror. The expenses in Berlin for the last 2 weeks were many times higher than what was needed for simple hotel accommodation. Restaurants, excursions, even some purchases in boutiques. But the worst part, these were expenses not just for Chloe, but as if for two people. And far from always was the second person Jennifer. I called Jennifer. William, how are things? I know it's hard without Chloe. Jennifer, tell me honestly. Is Chloe really at the hotel with you all this time? The pause was too long. Jennifer. William, she asked me not to say anything. My heart stopped. Say about what? She hasn't been living at the hotel for 2 weeks. She moved to that manager's apartment. David's. The world around me started spinning. I sat down on the kitchen floor, clutching the phone. Jennifer, tell me everything. Everything you know. William, I'm so ashamed. I told her it was wrong, but she fell in love. Says she feels alive for the first time in years. Fell in love. After 12 years of marriage. My wife fell in love with a stranger in a foreign country. How long has this been going on? Almost from the very beginning. At first they just talked. David told her about the city, they walked together. And then. She didn't finish the sentence, but I didn't need explanations. That evening I sat in our bedroom, looking at photos from our wedding. Chloe in a white dress, smiling and happy. Me in a suit I bought especially for that day. Both of us so young, so in love. When Chloe called, I didn't answer the phone for a long time. William, why aren't you answering? I was worried. Tell me about David. Silence. Long, telling silence. Who told you? Does it matter? Chloe, how much longer are you going to lie to me? She started crying. Not from regret, not from shame. From being caught. William, I didn't plan for this to happen. It just happened. 12 years of marriage just happened to end? I didn't want to hurt you. I thought I could figure out my feelings while I was here. Figure out? You moved in with him. How do you know? Chloe, I'm your husband. Or still am. I'm confused now. This conversation lasted 3 hours. 3 hours of tears, accusations, justifications, and pain. She told me everything. How David had been giving her special attention from the first day. How they started spending time together. How one walk around the city turned into dinner. How dinner turned into a night. He understands me, William. With him I feel alive. Yes, Jennifer already told me. You talked to Jennifer? Who else was I supposed to talk to? I've been talking to lies for 2 months. What struck me most wasn't that she cheated. What struck me most was how easily she did it. As if our 12 years meant nothing. William, when all this is over, when I come home, we'll talk. We'll try to fix everything. Chloe, I have news for you. You're not coming home anymore. What do you mean? Tomorrow I'm going to a lawyer. Filing for divorce. She started crying even harder. You can't do this. We can get through this together. Chloe, there is no us anymore. We ended when you decided quarantine was a reason to search for a new life. But the most unexpected thing was what happened a week later. Chloe called me at 2 in the morning. She was crying so hard that at first I couldn't understand a single word. William, he left me. What? David. He said he has a girlfriend in Hamburg. That our relationship was just entertainment during quarantine. I sat in bed, listening to my wife tell me how her lover had dumped her. The absurdity of the situation was such that I didn't even know whether to laugh or cry. Chloe, what did you expect? That he would drop his whole life for an American woman who betrayed her own husband? Don't be so cruel. Cruel? Chloe, you destroyed our marriage for a man who used you. I thought he loved me. Just like I thought you loved me. The next day I received a message from her. Flight on Monday. I'll be home in 2 days. I replied, leave the keys with the neighbors. You'll pick up your things later. On Monday I went to work as usual. All day I repaired other people's cars and thought about how you can repair your own life. In the evening I went to my brother's, stayed overnight. When I returned the next day, Chloe was already gone. The keys lay on the kitchen table along with a note. William, I'm sorry. I know I destroyed everything we had. I hope someday you can forgive me. I crumpled up the note and threw it in the trash. The divorce was finalized in 3 months. Chloe didn't object, didn't demand division of property. She was guilty and knew it. 6 months later I learned from mutual friends that she had moved to California, found a job in San Francisco. Friends say she's sad, that she regrets it. And me? I still live in our house in Austin. Still work at the same auto repair shop. Sometimes, when I'm repairing other people's breakdowns, I think about how not everything can be repaired. Some things break forever. But let me tell you what really happened during those months that I didn't know about until much later. Because the story I thought I knew was only half the truth. 3 months after our divorce, I received an unexpected call from Jennifer. She was back in the States and wanted to meet. We arranged to meet at a coffee shop in downtown Austin. William, there's something I need to tell you. Something I couldn't say while everything was happening. I braced myself for more revelations about Chloe's affair. The thing is, it wasn't just about David. There were other men. My coffee cup stopped halfway to my mouth. What do you mean? Jennifer looked uncomfortable, fidgeting with her napkin. Chloe, she wasn't just having an affair with David. After the first month, when the lockdown restrictions eased a bit in Berlin, she started going out. A lot. David introduced her to his friends and she was like a different person. Different how? Like she was making up for lost time. She told me she felt like she'd been in prison for 12 years. That marriage to you was like being buried alive. Each word felt like a physical blow. She said that. William, I'm sorry. I tried to talk her out of it. I told her she was being crazy, that she had a good husband waiting for her at home. But she laughed. She said you were boring, predictable. That you never made her feel the way these new men did. Jennifer pulled out her phone. She made me take pictures. Said she wanted to remember her freedom. I kept them because, honestly, I didn't know what to do with them. She showed me the screen. There was Chloe in a short dress I'd never seen before, sitting on some man's lap in what looked like a nightclub. Her hair was different, shorter, more stylish. She looked radiant, happier than I'd seen her in years. There were at least 4 different guys over those 2 months. David was just the one she stayed with most. But there was Marcus, a photographer. Stefan, who owned a gallery. And some American businessman named Jake who was also stuck there. I felt sick. Why are you telling me this now? Because I found out something else. Chloe is pregnant. The world stopped. What? She called me last week. She's 3 months along. She doesn't know who the father is. I sat there in stunned silence. My ex-wife, who had supposedly fallen in love with one man, had actually been sleeping around with multiple men and was now carrying a child that could belong to any of them. Does she know that I know? No. She asked me not to tell anyone. But I couldn't keep it to myself anymore. William, you deserve to know the truth about what really happened. That evening, I sat in my garage, surrounded by car parts and tools, trying to process this information. The woman I had been married to for 12 years hadn't just cheated, she had completely reinvented herself as someone I didn't recognize. 2 weeks later, Chloe called me. I hadn't heard from her since the divorce was finalized. William, I need to tell you something. I already know. Know what? About the pregnancy. About all of them. Silence. Jennifer told you. Yes. I can explain. Chloe, there's nothing to explain. You made your choices. Now live with them. William, please. I made mistakes. Terrible mistakes. But I'm scared. I don't know what to do. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. You weren't scared when you were sleeping with strangers. You weren't scared when you were lying to me for months. Why are you scared now? Because I'm alone. Because I realize what I've lost. You didn't lose anything, Chloe. You threw it away. Can we meet? Please? I need to see you. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at the same park where we used to walk when we were dating. She looked different, not just because of the pregnancy, but something in her eyes had changed. The brightness, the excitement I had heard in her voice during those final months of our marriage was gone. I know you hate me, she began. I don't hate you, Chloe. I don't feel anything for you anymore. She flinched as if I had slapped her. That's worse, isn't it? I suppose it is. We walked in silence for a while. Finally she spoke again. Do you want to know what really happened? Jennifer already told me. No, I mean what really happened. Why I did it. I didn't answer, but I kept listening. When we got stuck in Berlin, I was terrified. Not of the virus, not of being trapped in a foreign country. I was terrified of going back to my old life. Our life. What was so terrible about our life? Nothing. That was the problem. Nothing was terrible, but nothing was exciting either. We had fallen into this routine, this comfortable, predictable existence, and I felt like I was disappearing. She sat down on a bench and I reluctantly joined her. When David started paying attention to me, it wasn't just about him. It was about feeling seen again. Feeling desired. Feeling like I mattered to someone in a way that made my heart race. I made you feel like you mattered. You made me feel safe, secure, loved in a quiet, steady way. But William, I realized I didn't want quiet and steady anymore. I wanted passion. I wanted to feel alive. So you decided to destroy our marriage to feel alive? I didn't plan to destroy anything. I thought I could have both. Keep you as my safe harbor while exploring this new side of myself. And the others? Marcus, Stefan, Jake? She looked surprised that I knew the names. Each one made me feel different. Marcus saw me as an artist's muse. Stefan treated me like I was sophisticated, worldly. Jake made me feel young again. And David? David made me feel free. I stood up. Chloe, do you hear yourself? You're talking about these men like they were experiences to be collected. What about me? What about our marriage? What about the vows we made? I know it sounds selfish, Dash. It doesn't sound selfish. It is selfish. Completely, utterly selfish. Tears started flowing down her cheeks. I know that now. But William, for those 2 months, I felt more like myself than I had in years. Which self? The self that lied to me every day? The self that moved in with a stranger? The self that slept with multiple men while her husband worried about her safety? The self that wasn't afraid to want things, to take risks, to feel passion. And now I'm alone and pregnant and I've lost the best man I've ever known. I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time since she'd returned from Berlin. She was showing now, a small but noticeable bump under her loose sweater. Her face was rounder, her skin had that glow pregnant women supposedly get, but her eyes looked hollow. What are you going to do? I don't know. I can't contact any of them. David blocked me after he kicked me out. Marcus went back to Munich. Stefan was married, I found that out later. And Jake? Jake disappeared when I told him I might be pregnant. So none of these men who made you feel so alive want anything to do with the consequences. No. And you want me to feel sorry for you? I want you to understand that I know I made the biggest mistake of my life. I stood there looking at this woman who had been my wife, who had shared my bed and my dreams and my life for 12 years, and felt nothing but emptiness. Chloe, understanding and forgiving are two different things. I understand that you felt trapped. I understand that you wanted excitement. I even understand that people change and want different things. But I will never understand how you could lie to me for months. How you could let me worry about you while you were living it up with other men. How you could come back and expect to fix things when you had already decided our marriage wasn't worth preserving. I never decided that. I just got confused. For 2 months? You were confused for 2 months. Yes. Chloe, confusion lasts a day, maybe a week. What you did was make a series of deliberate choices, each one taking you further away from our marriage. You chose to lie. You chose to move in with David. You chose to sleep with other men. You chose to keep lying even when I started asking questions. She was sobbing now. I wish I could take it all back. But you can't. And even if you could, would you? If you had the chance to go back to that hotel room in Berlin, knowing what you know now, would you really choose differently? She was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. That's your answer right there. You don't know. After everything that's happened, after losing your marriage, after being abandoned by every man you thought cared about you, after finding yourself alone and pregnant, you still don't know if you would choose our marriage over that excitement. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple, Chloe. You had a choice between preserving something real and lasting, and pursuing something exciting and temporary. You chose excitement. And now you have to live with that choice. I started walking away. William, wait. I turned back. What? Do you think you'll ever be able to forgive me? I don't know. But I know I'll never be able to trust you again. And without trust, forgiveness doesn't really matter, does it? That was the last time I saw Chloe. I heard through mutual friends that she had the baby, a boy, and that she moved back to her parents' house in Oregon. She never found out who the father was, or if she did, she never told anyone. A year later, I ran into Jennifer at a grocery store. She told me Chloe was struggling as a single mother, that she had finally understood what she had given up. She asks about you sometimes, Jennifer said. What do you tell her? That you're doing well. That you seem happier. Am I? Are you? I thought about it. Was I happier? I was certainly more at peace. I had a routine that I enjoyed. I had started dating again, nothing serious, but I was open to the possibility of love. I had learned to appreciate the quiet moments, the predictable rhythms of a life lived without drama. Yeah, I said. I think I am. She really regrets it, you know? I'm sure she does. But regret doesn't fix what's broken. Would you ever consider? I mean, if she wanted to try to make amends. Jennifer, there's a difference between making amends and wanting someone back. I think Chloe regrets the consequences of her choices, but I don't think she regrets the choices themselves. She got exactly what she wanted, excitement, passion, the feeling of being alive. The fact that it didn't last doesn't change that she wanted it more than she wanted our marriage. But people can change. Yes, they can. But they have to want to change for the right reasons. Chloe wants to change now because her other options didn't work out. That's not the same as realizing that what she had was valuable. 6 months later, I met Sarah. She was a teacher at the elementary school where I sometimes did repair work on their maintenance vehicles. She was different from Chloe in every way: calm where Chloe was dramatic, steady where Chloe was unpredictable, content where Chloe was always seeking something more. We've been together for 8 months now. She knows about Chloe, about the divorce, about the betrayal. She doesn't try to fix me or heal me or make me forget. She just accepts that I'm a man who was deeply hurt by someone he loved, and that this experience is part of who I am now. "Do you think you'll ever marry again?" she asked me one evening as we sat on my back porch watching the sunset. I don't know. The idea of making those promises again, of trusting someone with that much power to hurt me, it's terrifying. I understand. Do you want to get married? Someday maybe. But not because I need to. Because I want to. Because I find someone I can't imagine living without. And if that person is too scared to take that leap, then I guess I'll have to decide if what we have is enough or if I need more. I looked at her, this woman who had somehow found her way into my carefully guarded heart, and felt something I hadn't felt since before Berlin, before the lies, before the betrayal. I felt hope. What if that person wanted to try but needed time to heal first? Then I guess we'd figure it out together. That night, as Sarah slept beside me in our bed, yes, our bed, because she had gradually moved in over the past few months without either of us officially acknowledging it, I thought about the different kinds of love. There's the love that burns bright and hot and consumes everything in its path. The kind of love that Chloe thought she found with David and Marcus and Stefan and Jake. The kind that feels like life itself, like the only thing that matters in the world. And then there's the love that grows slowly, steadily, putting down roots so deep that it becomes part of the foundation of who you are. The kind that doesn't make your heart race every day but makes you feel safe every day. The kind that doesn't promise constant excitement, but promises constant presence. I had offered Chloe the second kind of love, and she had chosen to chase the first kind. And maybe that was okay. Maybe we just wanted different things, and maybe it took a global pandemic and being trapped in a foreign country for her to realize that. But here's what I learned: the love that burns bright usually burns out. The love that grows slowly can last forever, if both people are willing to tend it. Chloe chose excitement over stability, passion over partnership, the thrill of the new over the comfort of the familiar. And in doing so she lost both. She didn't get to keep the excitement. David dumped her, the others disappeared. And she didn't get to keep the stability. I divorced her. She ended up with neither, while I ended up discovering that I could build something new, something better, something based not on the fear of being alone or the desperate need for excitement, but on the quiet certainty that some things are worth preserving, worth protecting, worth growing slowly and carefully over time. The pandemic ended. The world reopened. Life returned to normal. But my marriage stayed there. In March 2020, when the world stopped and my wife decided it was the perfect time to discover who she really was. And maybe that's the real tragedy of this story. Not that she cheated, not that she lied, not even that she chose strangers over her husband. The real tragedy is that she thought freedom meant running away from commitment instead of finding ways to be fully herself within it. She thought love meant constant excitement instead of daily choice. She thought happiness meant always wanting more instead of appreciating what she had. And in the end, she got exactly what she thought she wanted, and lost everything that actually mattered. As for me, I learned that some betrayals reveal truths you needed to know, even if they destroy you in the process. I learned that love isn't just a feeling, it's a decision you make every day. I learned that trust, once broken, may never be the same, but it can be rebuilt with the right person who understands its value. And I learned that sometimes the end of one story is just the beginning of another, better one. Do I regret the 12 years I spent with Chloe? No. They taught me what I wanted in a partner, what I was capable of as a husband, and what I would never accept again. Do I forgive her? I'm working on it. Not for her sake but for mine. Do I understand why she did what she did? Yes. And that understanding is what allows me to let go of the anger and move forward with my life. The pandemic changed everything for everyone. For some people, it revealed who they really were underneath all the routines and obligations and expectations. For Chloe, it revealed someone who had been quietly suffocating in our marriage, someone who needed more excitement and passion and novelty than I could provide. For me, it revealed someone who valued commitment and loyalty and the kind of love that weathers storms instead of seeking shelter elsewhere. We were incompatible in ways we had never acknowledged, and it took a global crisis to force that incompatibility into the light. I'm grateful for that revelation even though it nearly destroyed me. Because now I know what I really want, what I really need, and what I'm really capable of giving. And I know that the next time I promise to love someone in sickness and in health, for better and for worse, I'll mean it in a way I didn't fully understand when I was 25 and thought love was enough to overcome any obstacle. Love isn't enough. It never was. But love combined with compatible values, shared priorities, mutual respect, and the daily choice to honor your commitments even when it's hard? That might be enough. That might be everything. Thank you for watching the video to the end. Maybe YouTube will no longer offer you my channel, so subscribe to it by clicking subscribe on the right under the video to receive new interesting stories. Also on the right of the video there is a playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to, and you can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.